everyone, my name is Kristin Hayes and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm going to show you how to make this card today. I do have a new camera mount, so hopefully everything will be in a better frame because sometimes I tend to go out of frame, so we'll see how this camera mount goes. But we're going to start today with a piece of crushed curry, and it's cut at 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 4 1/4. I'm just going to go ahead and give that a crease. And then the main piece we're going to be working with today is a piece of Whisper White, and this is cut at 5 3/8. I'm sorry, that's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So we're going to start with this piece here, and we're going to take our embossing buddy, and we're just going to give it a good once over to get the static and fingerprints off of the paper. And then the first stamp set we're going to be using is this new Stargazing set. This is in the annual catalog, and I just love this whole set. It goes with the Twinkle Builder Punch, which we had, I think, in a Halloween set last year. But anyways, they have a new moon, and they have, I just love, this is the piece we're going to use right now. So we're going to start with some Versamark. And I've got my stamp all ready to go, and I'm just going to randomly stamp this over the Whisper White. There's no exact pattern. You can turn it whichever way you want. You want to try not to overlap, and I know it's hard to see on the camera where I'm going, but I can see it here. So I am trying not to overlap, and just twisting it around on my paper to get good coverage. I think I'm just going to put a little more in the corner. There we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to actually emboss this in white. If I can find my white that's clear. Here's white. Okay, so I'm just going to gently lift this up. I don't know if you can see the gleam of the Versamark on there, but it is on there, and we're going to do the white embossing powder over it. I've been very into embossing lately. I'm not sure why this embossing jar is getting a little sparse, but it'll still work. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. I'm just going to try and tilt a little bit, but you can see how it picked up everywhere I stamped. I did miss a little bit right here. Let's just put that right there, and I think I got everywhere else. It looks like it. Okay, just put that aside while I get rid of this embossing powder, and then we're just going to heat this up. All right. Alright, and let's pull out the heat tool, and I'm just going to heat this up. So it's hard to see white on white, but you can see it start to turn. Alright, there we go. That took a minute just because we have so much embossing on one piece of paper, but it doesn't take too long. It seems a little boring sometimes when you're just watching me heat emboss that, but we'll see if we can speed it up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm taking Pretty Peacock, and I took a sponge, and I'm just inking it up. I'm going to ink a little bit off on my grid paper, and then all I'm going to do is start swirling it on to my paper. So we're going to make, you know, a little bit of a night sky here. And you could emboss white right onto Pretty Peacock, but sometimes I just love the effect that sponging gives. And you can get some different dimensions with your color, that's all. So while you're sponging, you want to make sure you're not crinkling your paper like I almost just did there, and putting any bends in it. But as long as you're going gently, it should work out fine. see, get the corners are always the hardest, and then I'm just going to go around the edges a little bit more, just to make sure I've gotten it everywhere. All right, so I'm just going to close that up, and I'm just going to take a tissue. Get my 10 tissues come out, of course. And all I'm going to do is buff this where I've embossed. And this is just taking up any extra ink that the sponging left behind. And you can see I am picking some up. So you don't want to transfer that to another part of your project. And also, it brightens the white just a little bit. All right. There we go. That doesn't take long at all. So there's our background for this piece. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the stamping for the Love You More Than All the Stars, and then we're going to cut these out with our rectangle stitch dies. So I'm just going to take a piece of Whisper White I have here, and we're going to ink up in Crushed Curry, Love You More Than All the Stars. All right, so we'll ink that up. There we go. Let me just put these stamps over here so I'm not dropping other pieces of the project into it. Now this paper is a bit bigger than I need, so I'm just going to take my scissors and cut that part off. And this is a piece of Pretty Peacock that we're using for the other rectangle. And again, I'm just going to cut it down so I can fit both pieces through the Big Shot at one time. So the two rectangles that we're using, these are the rectangle stitch dies, and we're going to be using from this bigger set the third and fourth. So if you count 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth one, just to give you a reference if you wanted to duplicate it at home. So I'm going to bring up my Big Shot. There we go. And I'm using the magnetic platform. And we're just going to use the smaller rectangle on the Love You More Than All the Stars. I'm just going to center that right in that and make sure I get it on the, there we go. And then we're going to just use, nope, I have the wrong one. I said smaller and then I put the bigger one on. There we go. That looks much better. So that's the smaller one goes on where we stamped. The larger one goes on the Pretty Peacock. And then we're just going to run it through the Big Shot. These rectangle dies I find are very tight with my Big Shot. Very tight. Sorry for the loud noise. All right, let's take this off and we can pop these out. All right, so we've got the Love You More Than All the Stars, and you can see it's a pretty stitched rectangle all around that. And then the Pretty Peacock just pops right out as well. And then we're going to just mount this right on top of here. All right. So I'm just going to use a little snail. Let's get some of these pieces that we don't need away from us. And I'm just going to use a little snail to snail this on here. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to use ribbon right around here on this piece that we already embossed on. So I'm going to take, this is crinkled seam binding ribbon in Crushed Curry. I think Crushed Curry is the only color it comes in, which is kind of a shame because it's gorgeous ribbon. Of course, I do love ribbon. All right, so I'm just gonna, I need enough to make a bow and to go around, so I'm just gonna eyeball it here, and I'll measure how many inches I did for you in just a minute. I'm just gonna cut that. And this is about, let's see, 16. I did about 20 almost 21 inches. So I'm just gonna, it's probably more than I need, to be honest with you. I'm just gonna take it around the card in the center, but I'm gonna off-center the bow because the Love You More is gonna sit off-center like this. Oops. So you can use that a little bit as a guide as to where you want your bow before we attach it. So I'm going to knot it before I do a bow, just to hold it in place since there is a specific spot I want it in. Let me just turn that. Let me see if I got it. Whoops. All right, that's pretty close. I'm just going to move it a smidge this way. Okay, so now we're just going to tie it in a bow. I do much better with bows when they're not already attached to a card, but we'll see how we do here. All right, not too bad. Let's just play with it a little bit to get it how we want it. That looks pretty good. So I'm just going to cut off the ends here, and I usually do them on a diagonal. There we go. All right, so then what we're going to do is put this up on dimensionals and put it on our card. If I can find what I did with the dimensionals. Here we go. So we'll pop that up. You don't need too many. Probably putting on more than I need, but we'll anchor it so it's on the card nicely. Take the last one off. All right, so we're just going to put this on right there. Nice. And then I'm just going to snail it on to our card base. All right. Whoop. There we go, and press that on. Now, the last pieces that we need are these little stars for some accents that I put on. So I have the Twinkle Builder Punch here, and I'm just going to take some scrap crushed curry, and let me just get these out of the way, these backings for the, I don't want to be picking those up when I'm picking up the stars. Okay, so we're just going to punch some stars out. And I'm getting part of the moon, which we're not using today. Boy, I can't pick anything up today. All right, here we go. And we'll do some more. And then I'm going to do a few in the Pretty Peacock as well. And we'll do just one more punch. Okay, so now we've got our stars and we need to get them on our card. Now, I haven't used this very much, but this is called the Take Your Pick tool, and this makes putting on little pieces so much easier. There's putty at this end. These are interchangeable, and like you can see, there's a poker on this end, and you can change it, and it's a little spatula, and then there's also a piece that can go on for the brush to get for the Big Shot pad. So let me just take these out. We're going to use the putty end here today, and what I'm going to do is take my fine tip glue. Oh, it's got a little extra on it there. All right, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a piece of a star that I want, put a little bit of the glue on it, and this will just take a minute to get going, and then I'm going to just stick it right on the card where I want it. And that jumped a little on me. I'm using my left hand to put it on. Let's reverse that. So we're going to do a yellow star, crushed curry this time. Put this on. All right, there we go. And then we're just going to stick it on. That worked a little bit better. When you're right-handed, trying to do lefty things don't really work out well. At least not for me. All right. And we'll put this one here, and I think we'll do a tiny yellow one. And you can see how easily this tool just picks up the pieces for you, because sometimes when you're working with smaller pieces, I mean, it's really hard to get the glue on, to get it where you want it. And you just need a little bit of the fine tip glue. We'll hold that one for a minute, one to come back up. There we go. It's on the embossing. And then we'll just add a few more. There we go. You can see I got pretty peacock in my fingernails. Lovely. And then let's see here. All right, we'll put this one up here. I mean, you can just put them wherever you wanted. You don't need that many. I'll just add one or two more. We'll do right here. And we'll, oh, that did stay down. I thought it was coming up. And then we'll do this one right here is fine. And that's really all we need to do for this card. So here's the original. And then I wanted to show you one variation. This is very similar to this card, but instead I have it on a crushed curry background, and I have this polka dot ribbon on instead. So you can easily do variations of the same card. I hope you enjoyed the video, and all my links will be listed down below. And if you're not already working with the Demonstrator, I'd love a chance to work with you. Thank you so much.